The morning Emma Rodriguez almost died started like any other Tuesday. Coffee at 6 a.m. Emails by 6:30. Out the door by 7:15 to beat Seattle traffic. She never made it to the office. The drunk driver ran the red light at 7:43 a.m., T-boning her sedan with enough force to spin it twice before it crumpled against a streetlight. Emma didn't remember the impact. She didn't remember the screaming, or the smell of gasoline, or the way her phone flew from her hand and shattered against the dashboard. What she remembered was the voice. "Ma'am? Ma'am? Can you hear me? Don't move. Help is coming." Strong hands checking her pulse. A jacket pressed against the gash on her forehead. And when she finally forced her eyes open, she saw him. A man in his late 30s with kind eyes and grease-stained mechanic's coveralls, kneeling in broken glass beside her mangled car. "Stay with me," he said firmly. "What's your name?" "Emma," she managed, tasting copper. "I'm Daniel. Daniel Foster. You're going to be okay, Emma. I promise." She wanted to believe him, but the world was tilting, sounds fading in and out like a radio losing signal. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was a child's voice. "Daddy, is the lady going to die?" "No, buddy. She's going to be just fine." Emma woke up 3 days later in Harborview Medical Center with 17 stitches, a concussion, 2 cracked ribs, and a wrist fracture that would take months to heal. The doctors called her lucky. The drunk driver had walked away with barely a scratch, already out on bail by the time Emma regained consciousness. "You had a guardian angel," her nurse said while checking her vitals. "The man who pulled you out before the car caught fire? He saved your life." Another 30 seconds and she didn't finish the sentence. Emma's mother, who'd flown in from Phoenix, squeezed her hand. The police said he was taking his son to school. He saw the accident and stopped immediately. He got you out, called 911, stayed with you until the ambulance arrived. If he hadn't been there, but he had been there. That was the thing Emma couldn't stop thinking about during her week-long hospital stay. Of all the cars on that road at that exact moment, Daniel Foster had been there. When she was discharged, Emma wanted to find him to thank him properly. But between pain medication, physical therapy appointments, and the crushing weight of trauma she hadn't yet processed, weeks slipped by. Her car was totaled. Her job put her on medical leave. Her apartment felt like a prison. She stopped sleeping properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she was back in that intersection, watching the truck come at her. She'd wake up gasping, heart hammering, unable to shake the certainty that she should be dead. Her therapist called it survivor's guilt mixed with PTSD. Her mother called it a wake-up call. Emma called it hell. 2 months after the accident, Emma forced herself to go to the auto shop where Daniel worked. She'd gotten the address from the police report. Foster and Son Auto Repair, a family-owned place in Ballard that had been there for 40 years. The garage smelled like motor oil and coffee. Rock music played from a radio somewhere. A teenage boy was changing tires on a Honda Civic, his movements efficient despite his age. "Help you?" he called out. "I'm looking for Daniel Foster." "Dad!" the boy yelled toward the back. "Someone's here for you." Daniel emerged from beneath a lifted truck, wiping his hands on a rag. He'd aged since that morning, or maybe Emma just hadn't noticed the gray at his temples, the deep lines around his eyes. When he saw her, recognition flickered across his face. "Emma, you remember." "Of course I remember." He set down the rag, suddenly awkward. "How are you? Are you okay?" "I'm alive. Because of you." Emma's voice cracked despite her best efforts. "I never got to say thank you. I never got to tell you that you saved my life." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Anyone would have done the same. But they didn't. You did." Emma pulled an envelope from her purse. "I know this doesn't even begin to cover it, but I wanted to give you something. For your time, for your dry cleaning, for—" "No." Daniel held up his hands. Absolutely not. I didn't help you for money. I know, but… Emma, look. I did what any decent person should do. You don't owe me anything. They stood there in the garage at an impasse. The teenager, Daniel's son, Emma realized, watched with undisguised curiosity. At least let me buy you coffee, Emma said finally. Please. I need to feel like I did something to acknowledge what you did. Daniel hesitated, glancing at his son, then at the clock on the wall. I get a break at 3. There's a cafe 2 blocks down. Driftwood Coffee. I'll be there. Emma arrived at 2:45, too nervous to be late. She ordered a latte she didn't drink and sat by the window, watching the street. When Daniel walked in at exactly 3 o'clock, still in his coveralls, she felt something in her chest loosen. Thank you for coming, she said as he sat down. Thank you for the invitation. He ordered black coffee, no sugar. So, how are you really doing? Emma considered lying. But something about Daniel's steady gaze made her tell the truth. Not great. I can't drive anymore without having a panic attack. I can't sleep. I keep replaying that morning, wondering why I didn't leave 5 minutes earlier or later, why I took that route instead of the highway. She laughed bitterly. My therapist says I have PTSD. Apparently, almost dying will do that to you. Daniel nodded slowly. When I was 22, I was in Afghanistan. Army mechanic. My convoy hit an IED. 3 guys died. I didn't. I spent years asking why. Why them and not me? What made me special? Did you ever find an answer? No. But I learned to live with the question. He took a sip of coffee. The guilt, the fear, the nightmares, they get smaller. They don't disappear, but they get manageable. You'll get there. How can you be sure? Because you're here. You're trying. That's the hardest part. They talked for 2 hours. Daniel told her about his son, Tyler, who was 16 and already better with engines than Daniel would ever be. About Daniel's wife, who died of cancer 4 years ago, leaving him to raise Tyler alone. About inheriting the auto shop from his father and the pressure of keeping a family business alive. Emma told him about her job in marketing, which she'd been good at but never loved. About her failed engagement 2 years ago. About her parents' divorce when she was 12 and how it had taught her to keep people at arm's length. About feeling adrift since the accident, like the person she'd been before had died in that intersection. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Daniel said quietly. Maybe almost dying gives you permission to live differently. What do you mean? I mean, were you happy before? With your job, your life, all of it? Emma wanted to say yes, but sitting in that coffee shop with this man who'd saved her life, she couldn't lie. No, I was going through the motions. I was surviving, not living. So don't go back to that. Take the second chance you've been given and do something different. Like what? I don't know. What did you want to be before you decided to be practical? Emma smiled despite herself. A photographer. I wanted to travel and take pictures of people. Real people, real stories. But that doesn't pay the bills, so I went into marketing instead. Why can't it pay the bills? Because it's a fantasy. Because it's not realistic. Emma, you almost died. Realistic went out the window the second that truck hit you. If not now, when? The coffee meeting became a regular thing. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, Emma and Daniel met at Driftwood Coffee. They talked about everything and nothing. Daniel's struggles with Tyler, who was pulling away like teenagers do. Emma's physical therapy progress. Daniel's fears about the auto shop's finances. Emma's decision to quit her job and try freelance photography. You're actually doing it? Daniel asked when she told him, pride evident in his voice. I'm terrified, but you're right. If not now, when? Tyler started joining them sometimes, initially sullen and resistant but gradually warming to Emma. He showed her pictures of engines on his phone with the kind of enthusiasm teenagers rarely displayed. Emma showed him her photography portfolio, and he pointed out which shots he liked and why with surprising insight. "Your dad talks about you constantly," Emma told Tyler one afternoon when Daniel was running late. "Yeah." Tyler looked uncomfortable. "He worries too much. He loves you. That's what parents do. It's been just us since Mom died. Sometimes I feel like I can't breathe. You know? Like everything I do is under a microscope." Emma nodded. "Have you told him that?" "He wouldn't get it. Try him. Your dad is one of the most understanding people I've ever met." Tyler snorted. "That's because you're not his kid." When Daniel arrived, apologizing profusely for being late, Emma watched father and son together. The tension was there, subtle but present. Tyler on his phone, Daniel trying too hard to engage. Two people who loved each other but couldn't quite connect. She understood the feeling. For months after the accident, Emma got her first paid photography gig, a wedding in Bellingham. Small, intimate, but it paid enough to cover her rent. When she told Daniel, he insisted on taking her and Tyler out to celebrate. They went to a burger place Tyler loved, the kind with terrible lighting and incredible food. Emma brought her camera and took candid shots throughout the evening. Daniel laughing at one of Tyler's jokes. Tyler stealing fries from his father's plate. The two of them together backlit by neon signs. "Can I see?" Daniel asked. Emma showed him the screen. In the photo, Daniel's hand was on Tyler's shoulder, and they were both genuinely smiling. Something about it made Daniel's eyes shine. "Can you send me that?" "Of course." Later, after they dropped Tyler at a friend's house, Daniel walked Emma to her car. She'd bought a used sedan, nothing fancy, but every time she got behind the wheel, her hands still shook. "You okay?" Daniel asked, noticing. "Getting there. Some days are better than others. The fear doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human." Emma looked at him in the glow of the streetlight. "When did you get so wise?" "Around the same time I pulled a stranger out of a burning car and decided her life was worth saving. Thank you for that, for all of this, for being my friend when I needed one." Daniel stepped closer. "Emma, I need to tell you something. These past few months, getting to know you, watching you rebuild your life, it's been incredible. You're incredible. And somewhere along the way, this stopped being just friendship for me." Emma's heart stuttered. "Daniel, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. After Sarah died, I thought that part of my life was over. But then you walked into my shop, and something changed. You changed things." "This is complicated," Emma said softly. "I know. You're still healing. I come with a complicated teenager. We met because you almost died. Nothing about this is simple. But I think you're worth complicated. I think we're worth trying." Emma closed her eyes. Every logical part of her brain said this was too fast, too much, too soon. But her heart that had stopped beating in that intersection and had been jump-started by this man's hands. Her heart said something different. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too. What if it doesn't work? What if we ruin this friendship? What if it does work? What if we miss out on something amazing because we're too afraid to try?" Emma opened her eyes and found Daniel watching her with such hope, such vulnerability, that her remaining defenses crumbled. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let's try." The kiss was soft, tentative, full of promise and fear in equal measure. When they pulled apart, Emma was crying. "Happy tears?" Daniel asked, brushing them away with his thumb. "Terrified tears. Happy tears. All of it. We'll figure it out together." Dating Daniel was nothing like Emma's previous relationships. There was no pretense, no games, no wondering where she stood. He called when he said he would. He showed up. He let her in. But Tyler was a different story. "You're dating Emma?" Tyler's voice was sharp when Daniel told him. "The lady from the accident?" "Yes. Is that a problem?" "It's weird, Dad. It's really weird. I care about her. I think she could be important to us." To you, you mean? You didn't ask me. Tyler, Mom's only been gone 4 years. For years. And you're already replacing her. The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. Emma isn't replacing anyone. Your mother was and always will be my first love. But Tyler, she's gone. And I'm still here, and I'm still alive, and I deserve to be happy. What about what I deserve? Did you think about that? Tyler stormed out and Daniel let him go. That night he called Emma, voice heavy with defeat. Maybe this is a mistake. Maybe Tyler's right. Maybe it's too soon. Is that what you really think? Or is that your fear talking? Silence. Then, I don't know anymore. Daniel, Tyler is 16. He's allowed to be upset. He's allowed to grieve and be angry and struggle with change. But you're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to love again. What if I can't do both? What if choosing you means losing him? Then you choose him. You always choose him. He's your son. And what about you? I'm a grown woman who understands that you're a package deal. I'm not going anywhere, Daniel. But Tyler needs to know he comes first. Make sure he knows that. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later at an unexpected moment. Emma was photographing a youth football game trying to build her portfolio. Tyler was there with friends, and Emma kept her distance, not wanting to intrude. But during a break, Tyler approached her. Hey, Emma replied carefully. Can I see? He gestured to her camera. She showed him the shots, action sequences, candid moments of celebration and defeat. These are really good, Tyler admitted grudgingly. Thanks. I'm still learning. They stood in awkward silence. Then Tyler said, I don't hate you. I miss my mom. And seeing Dad with someone else makes it feel like she's really gone. Emma's throat tightened. She is gone, Tyler. And that's devastating. But her being gone doesn't mean she stops mattering. You'll carry her with you forever. So will your dad. I'm not trying to take her place. I could never do that. Then what are you trying to do? Be here. Be honest. Care about your dad. And care about you too, if you'll let me. Tyler looked at her for a long moment. Dad's happy when he talks about you. I haven't seen him happy like that since before Mom got sick. He's happy because of you too. You know that, right? You're his whole world. Then why does he need you? Because having more people to love doesn't diminish the love that's already there. It multiplies it. Emma paused. Your dad told me something once. He said learning to live with the questions is harder than finding the answers. Maybe this is one of those questions. Why now? Why her? You might never get a satisfactory answer. But you can choose to let joy in anyway. Tyler kicked at the grass. This is really weird. Completely weird. I met your dad because I almost died. Nothing about this is normal. Despite himself, Tyler smiled. When you put it that way. Look, I'm not asking you to call me Mom or even to like me. I'm just asking you to give this a chance. Give your dad a chance to be happy. And maybe, eventually, we can be friends. Friends who my dad kisses? Gross. Extremely gross. We won't do it in front of you. Deal. 1 year after the accident, Emma stood at the same intersection where she'd almost died. Daniel stood beside her, his hand in hers. You okay? He asked. Yeah. I needed to face it. To remember that I survived. You did more than survive. You're thriving. Emma's photography business was taking off. She'd shot 3 weddings, 2 corporate events, and had a gallery showing scheduled for next month. Her PTSD wasn't gone, but it was managed. She could drive without hyperventilating. She could sleep through the night more often than not. And she had Daniel, complicated, wonderful Daniel, with his grease-stained hands and his troubled son and his capacity for love that seemed endless. Tyler had slowly come around. He wasn't warm exactly, but he was civil, sometimes even friendly. Last week, he'd asked Emma to take photos at his school's car show where he was displaying an engine he'd rebuilt. It was progress. I love you, Emma said, the word still new enough to make her nervous. I love you too. Daniel pulled her close. Thank you for not giving up on yourself, on us. Thank you for pulling me out of that car. Best decision I ever made. They stood there as traffic flowed around them, life continuing its relentless forward motion. A year ago, Emma had been broken, bleeding, certain she was dying. Now she was whole in ways she'd never been before the accident. Sometimes you have to break to rebuild. Sometimes the worst day of your life cracks you open just enough to let light in. Sometimes the person who saves you isn't who you expect, and the love you find isn't what you were looking for, but it's exactly what you need. Emma had almost died on a Tuesday morning in Seattle, but she'd lived. And in living, she'd found Daniel, found purpose, found herself. The drunk driver who hit her served 6 months in jail. It didn't feel like justice, but Emma had stopped waiting for justice. She was too busy living. 2 years after the accident, on a Saturday morning that started like any other, Daniel made breakfast while Emma photographed the way sunlight filtered through their kitchen window. Tyler, now 18 and heading to technical college in the fall, was still asleep upstairs. I have something for you, Daniel said, suddenly nervous. Emma lowered her camera. What is it? He pulled a small box from his pocket. Not a ring box, something else. Inside was a key. It's to the house, Daniel explained. I know you have your apartment, and I'm not asking you to give it up, but Tyler and I were talking, and we both agreed that you should have a key, because you're part of this family now. If you want to be. Emma's hands trembled as she took the key. You talked to Tyler about this? It was his idea, actually, he said, and I quote, Emma's here all the time anyway. Might as well make it official. That's the most Tyler thing I've ever heard. Is that a yes? That's a yes. To the key, to the family, to all of it. Daniel kissed her, and Emma thought about how strange life was. How a single moment could destroy everything you knew and, in destroying it, create something better. How the worst day of your life could lead to the best decision. How loss and love could coexist. How grief and joy could share the same space. Tyler shuffled into the kitchen, hair sticking up, still half asleep. Are you two being gross again? He asked, heading for the coffee maker. Extremely gross, Emma confirmed. Ugh, can you at least warn me so I can leave the room? Where's the fun in that? Daniel ruffled his son's hair. Tyler swatted him away but was smiling. He looked at Emma, at the key in her hand, and something shifted in his expression. So you're officially moving in? If that's okay with you. Tyler shrugged, trying for casual but not quite achieving it. Yeah, whatever. It's cool. Tyler. He looked up at her. Thank you for giving me a chance. For letting me be part of this. You're not totally terrible. For someone who almost died and then started dating my dad. High praise. Don't let it go to your head. But later, when Emma was loading the dishwasher, Tyler approached her quietly. Hey, Emma? That gallery showing next month? Can I come? You want to come to my photography exhibit? I mean, if that's weird. No. I'd love that. I'd really love that. Cool. And maybe after we could grab food or whatever. The three of us. That sounds perfect. Tyler nodded and started to walk away, then turned back. My mom would have liked you, just so you know. She would have thought you were cool. Emma's eyes burned with sudden tears. That means everything, Tyler. Thank you. He shrugged and disappeared back upstairs, leaving Emma standing in the kitchen with her heart full. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind. You okay? Better than okay. I'm happy. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. They stood there, holding each other, as morning light filled the house. Outside, Seattle was waking up. Traffic flowed through that intersection where Emma had almost died. People went about their Tuesday mornings, unaware that 2 years ago, lightning had struck. But Emma knew. She knew how quickly everything could change. How one moment could end a life or save it. How a stranger could become the love of your life. How a broken family could become whole again by letting someone new in. She thought about the Emma who'd existed before the accident, going through the motions, playing it safe, too afraid to want more. That Emma was gone, destroyed in the impact. In her place was someone braver, someone who'd looked death in the face and chosen life. Messy, complicated, beautiful life. "What are you thinking about?" Daniel murmured. "How strange it is that the worst thing that ever happened to me led to the best thing." Not so strange. Sometimes we have to lose everything to find what we really need. Is that from a fortune cookie? It's from 4 years of therapy after Sarah died. Emma laughed, turning in his arms to kiss him. "I love you, Daniel Foster. Thank you for saving my life." "I love you too, Emma Rodriguez. Thank you for letting me." 3 years after the accident, Emma's gallery exhibit opened to a packed crowd. The series was called Second Chances, photographs documenting people who'd survived near-death experiences and rebuilt their lives. There was a firefighter who'd been burned saving children, a cancer survivor who'd started a nonprofit, a veteran who'd lost both legs but learned to dance. And at the center of the collection was a self-portrait. Emma at the intersection where she'd almost died, Daniel beside her, both of them looking not at the camera but at each other. The title was simple, Where Lightning Struck. Tyler stood in front of it for a long time. "You okay, buddy?" Daniel asked. "Yeah, I'm good." Tyler looked at his father, then at Emma, who was across the room talking to a reporter. "I'm really glad you didn't die, Emma," he called out. The whole room went quiet. Emma turned, surprised. "I'm glad too," she said softly. "And I'm glad Dad found you, or you found him. However it worked." "Me too, Tyler." "Okay, good talk. I'm going to find the food now." As Tyler disappeared into the crowd, Daniel pulled Emma close. "That's the most emotional speech he's given since he was 12. He's a good kid. He is. Because of you. Because of us. All of us." The night was a success. Emma sold 12 photographs, got commissioned for 3 more projects, and was approached by a magazine about a feature. But the best moment came at the end, when the crowd had thinned and it was just the 3 of them standing in front of that central photograph. "So what happens next?" Tyler asked. "What do you mean?" Emma replied. "In the story, you almost died. Dad saved you, you fell in love. Then what?" Emma and Daniel exchanged a look. "Then we live," Emma said. "We keep choosing each other every day. We build a life together. We have more adventures, more challenges, more ordinary moments that become extraordinary because we're in them together." "That's it? That's the ending. That's the beginning," Daniel corrected. "The best stories don't really end. They just keep going, one chapter after another." Tyler considered this. "Okay, I can live with that." They stood there, this family that shouldn't have existed, this love that had been born from tragedy, this second chance that all 3 of them had been given in different ways. Tyler, learning to let someone new into his life. Daniel, learning to love again after loss. Emma, learning that surviving wasn't the same as living, and that sometimes you had to die a little to truly come alive. Outside, Seattle continued its eternal motion. Traffic flowed. Accidents happened and didn't happen. Lives intersected and diverged in patterns too complex to predict. But in that gallery, surrounded by images of survival and renewal, 3 people held each other close and chose joy, chose hope, chose to believe that lightning could strike twice, and the second time could be even brighter than the first. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Proud of you, Mija. Your father would be too." She showed it to Daniel, who smiled and kissed her temple. Tyler rolled his eyes but was smiling too. "Seriously, where's the food?" he asked. "Come on," Emma laughed. "Let's go find you food." As they walked out together, this improbable, impossible, perfect family, Emma thought about that Tuesday morning 3 years ago. About the drunk driver and the impact and the moment she'd been certain her life was ending. About Daniel's voice cutting through the chaos. Stay with me. She'd stayed. She'd fought. She'd survived. And in surviving, she'd found everything she'd never known she needed. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is really an invitation. To live differently, to love harder, to stop going through the motions and start embracing the chaos. Emma had accepted that invitation. She'd walked through the fire and come out transformed. Lightning had struck twice, once to destroy, once to illuminate, and in that light, Emma had finally learned to see.